What is going on, guys? It's the Mad Dragon. We're back doing some more selection reactions for round 2 of the Rugby World Cup. Now, the team announcements are a little bit all over the place this week. Getting a little bit weird. First time I've ever covered the World Cup on the channel before, so I'm not really sure if this is a standard practice thing. Round 2 starts tonight. It is like 5 hours away from now by the time I'm filming this, and we have not got a lot of team announcements. So normally what I like to do in these sort of preview videos is we show both teams, we run through the teams and stuff, but they are not being announced at any speed. So we've already done one for New Zealand versus Namibia and France versus Uruguay, which of course is the game kicking us off this evening. However, the rest of the games, we seem to be getting one team and not the other. So we're mixing it up today. We're doing it on the fly. I only have a certain amount of time to do these videos, as well as, you know, people want to do their fantasy teams and stuff. You want to know who's playing. So this one is for Wales versus Portugal. But we haven't got a Portugal team. They've not announced the team yet, and we're running out of time in order to actually do these preview videos before that first round kicks off. So it's going to be a Wales team selection reaction. That's what we're going to be limited to today. So unfortunately for any of you guys who wanted to pick Portuguese players for your fantasy or any Portuguese watchers, unfortunately we won't be able to cover the team in this video, which is a real shame. I really was hoping they would push the teams out Tuesday, Wednesday. We're 5 hours away from kickoff of round 2 and we've still not got a hell of a lot of the teams. So talking about this game then, Wales versus Portugal. Portugal's one of the teams I am really looking forward to see. I've only caught a couple of the highlights from their different matches. They're not really televised at all in the UK, so we haven't been able to catch any full live matches from Portugal over here, but I've been catching the highlights and I've been seeing how they played against the USA a few weeks back during those World Cup warm-ups, and I was quite impressed by the way Portugal were playing. USA play a bit of blitz defence similarly to the way Wales tend to play, and Portugal had a lot of answers. They had a lot of answers to that blitz defence. So I've got a feeling in this one, Wales might find themselves actually having a little bit of a trickier time than they might imagine getting around some of these Portuguese players. Wales last week, of course, played Fiji in an absolute nail-biter. For me, it was the game of the round. Some real heartbreak for Fiji supporters. I thought that one was incredibly close. If only Semi Radradra could have got that pass into his hands and managed to score in the corner. Seeing lots of different talking points around that. People are hating the ref. Some people say Fiji didn't deserve to win. Some people are saying Wales didn't deserve to win. There's all manner of different talking points and stuff. But Wales, of course, going up against Portugal, much lower ranked than Fiji. And there's been a lot of changes. Of course, Wales have still got the Wallabies to come up, so I'm sure they want to avoid as many injuries to a lot of those starting players as best they can. So starting out in this front row, Nicky Smith, Dewi Lake and Dylan Lewis will be taking over this front row. Dewi Lake coming back in, nice to see. I did think he would have actually maybe started in that game last week against Fiji, but they had Jack Morgan as captain singularly. Of course, they're co-captains for this World Cup team for Wales. Looking forward to see him return to this front row and see how he gets on in this game. In the lock department, Christ Chuinza goes in alongside of David Jenkins. So Adam Beard moved to the bench for this one. Will Rowlands out of the team completely, I imagine, to avoid injuries, because Will Rowlands was having a good old game against Fiji. A lot of big tackles from him, really getting involved in that breakdown. So probably want to avoid any injuries to him. Adam Beard moved to the bench and 2 new locks coming in. And then in the back row, Dan Lydiot takes over in the blindside flanker. Tommy Raffel coming in at open side and Talupe Faletau remaining at 8. Of course, he didn't play at any of those warm-up games. You want to get those minutes on the field, and I think Portugal's probably a really good team for him to have a good run out against, get the ball in hand, maybe see him out on the wing, potentially score some tries. Dan Lydiot back in the team as well. I can't believe this guy keeps somehow recovering from his massive injuries, but he does, of course. Another massive player when it comes to the breakdown, those jackal penalties. Dan Lydiot's going to be at the centre of all of them, as will Tommy Raffel, to be fair. He's also very good over the ball. Got some tough competition for that open side in Wales at the minute, because Jack Morgan looking very impressive. In the halfback partnership, Thomas Williams goes in alongside of Gareth Anscombe, who I was kind of surprised we got to see Costello come on last week as opposed to Gareth Anscombe. I thought maybe he would have been a better choice coming on from the bench. So I'm looking forward to see Gareth Anscombe back in this fly half shirt. Thomas Williams getting picked over Gareth Davis, I think is probably the right move. For me at the minute, I would say Gareth Davis is impressing me more than Thomas Williams. So I would maybe leaning towards saying that Gareth Davis would be my first choice scrum half. So I think Thomas Williams starting off in this game alongside Gareth Anscombe is hopefully going to be a big benefit to him. Hopefully they can sort out that halfback partnership and gives you a bit more testing the depth as we get towards potentially some quarterfinals, because after that win against Fiji, Wales absolutely in the driver's seat to get out of this pool. In in the centre partnership, Johnny Williams goes in alongside Mason Grady. So this is a centre partnership about going forwards, right? Johnny Williams just doesn't seem to care whether he dies or not, running forwards with the ball in hand. He is going to be up for some hard running lines, and Mason Grady, a big old unit. Got similar vibes to about George North. I don't think he's up there with George North at the minute. George North is playing very, very well in that outside centre. So we'll see how Mason Grady gets on, but he's a big old unit to stop, especially when you get on some real good crash ball lines. He's a bit of a nightmare to take down. And then finally, in the back three, Rio Dyer coming in on the left wing, Reece Zammit stays out on the right wing, and Lee Halfpenny coming in that fullback position, which is nice to see Lee Halfpenny still going. I imagine this will be the last World Cup we get to see Lee Halfpenny out. I don't think we've had any announcement about retirement, but he's getting up there in terms of, how old he is now, and he's over his 100 caps now with Wales. So I think for Lee Halfpenny, this will absolutely be his last World Cup, so I'll be looking forward to see him out on the field. In terms of kicking duties, I assume Lee Halfpenny might actually be kicking over Gareth Anscombe. For anyone involved with the fantasy, thinking about it, Lee Halfpenny could be well up for kicking in this game, especially if Wales can get some decent tries. Lee Halfpenny could be your kicker of choice for this game. It is much more in line with the B Team Wales, but out of all of the games in Pool C, it's really hard to find a respite because there's so many competitive teams. Portugal, unfortunately, are probably the one team that the other teams will be looking at as like, we can maybe put on a bit of a B team against. But you don't want to underestimate them. It is one of the things that can catch teams out. Sometimes you think not enough of, some of the tier 2 teams coming through, and they can surprise you. They can come out there. They beat the USA. USA not in this World Cup this time. Portugal can absolutely come in and do a couple of surprises along the way. In terms of the replacements, then we have Ryan Elias, Domachowski, and Tom Francis coming on. The scrummaging work from the boys last week against Fiji, they put in a really good stint. Fiji, of course, a very, very physical team. The line-out situation last week was a bit weird. Wales' line-out actually looked pretty solid, and I was enjoying what they were doing. But the line-outs that were Fiji's line-outs on their put-in, there was a couple where Wales didn't even jump for them. They didn't even get involved with it. They didn't put any pressure on the hooker at all. I assumed that they were in training. They were absolutely ramping up the pressure to stop driving mauls, and so far they were thinking, we're not going to get in the air. We're going to have everyone on the ground, stop that big driving maul. But I would have liked to have seen them put a little bit more pressure on that Fiji lineup and got in the air. We'll see how they get on against the Portuguese team. And two lads that may be doing that in that second half, Adam Beard and Tane Basham, coming on in that second half. I assume Tane Basham might come on for Tommy Raffel. We haven't seen a lot from Tane Basham recently. Feels like his name's been awfully quiet. He's had his own injury spells as well. And as we look towards that Australia game, I probably would say Jack Morgan's getting the start of that open side. Tommy Raffel also has the ability to, switch in that flanker position. So I assume Tane Basham's going in kind of third choice, which sounds kind of mad because Tane Basham is still a very good player. But we'll see where he comes on in this game. And then the rest of the replacements are in the backs. Gareth Davis, Sam Costello, and Josh Adams, three lads we saw come on last week. Josh Adams particularly, man, what a step up he has had in terms of his defensive game. I think when I first started out this channel, I didn't have a lot of praise to give Josh Adams in terms of his defensive effort, but over the last couple of years, really, really stepping up some massive tackles going in against Fiji last week, just tackles that had to be made. I have to say, I was really surprised he came off because not only was he doing really well in defense, he got his try on the wing. I thought his attacking runs were really good. He came off a little bit early in that game and Rio Dyer came on, and I felt after that change was made, that wing got a little bit weaker, and Rio Dyer was struggling a little bit against some of the Fijian lads. So I would have liked to have kept Josh Adams on. Of course, looking at this team and the way they work, they've also experimented with Josh Adams playing at centre. So maybe he would come on at centre as well. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes on the wing though. And I imagine he might actually come on for Zammit. Again, another one when you look ahead towards that Australia game. I think Zammit's one of your lads that's going to be starting in that one. I wouldn't be surprised if Zammit plays, a good chunk of this game, 60, 70 minutes, and then in that final 10 you see Josh Adams come on that wing, keep Rio Dyer on that left wing, and let him play the full game. But it is a strong bench from Wales. This might actually be one of the games where we get to see Wales as that game goes on. They're already back in their own fitness for that full 80 minutes, but actually the way this bench is laid out, I could see this team actually getting progressively better as the game goes on. I'm not too aware of the Portuguese fatigue and whether they're up for that full 80 minutes or whether they might drop off, as we see with some of the other tier 2 teams, unfortunately, in that sort of 60-70 minute marker. And maybe Wales will begin to exploit it in this one a little bit later on in the game. In terms of a score prediction for this one, I'm going to lean towards Wales. I'm feeling confident. I thought they had a good performance against Fiji. Obviously, a lot of changes coming in, and we did see a bit more of these B teams in the World Cup warm-ups really struggling against some of the big teams in the world of rugby. But I'm still leaning towards Wales for this one. And we haven't seen Portugal play yet. And I'm really looking forward to see Portugal play in this one. And in terms of looking at, Portugal's last few games, they lost to Australia A. They beat the USA 46 points to 20. They lost to Georgia 38-11. They beat Spain 27-10. They beat Romania 38 points to 20. And they beat Poland 65 points to 3. So this is a team that can score. They can put points on the board against you, which might change up, how many points you perceive Wales to win this one by. I'm going to say Wales to win this one by 25, I think is what I'm going to go for. And to be honest, that's a bit of a pure guess because I really have no idea. I'm looking forward to see Portugal play for the first time in this Rugby World Cup. So I'm really hoping they come out, they smash that game and have a real good stamp out before they go on to play the rest of their pool stages. I hope you've all enjoyed this one today, guys. I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye.